Hello, and welcome to another episode of Disrupt Your Now, the show for entrepreneurs who are sick and tired of checking off the boxes and want to create your own boxes. Tonight, my guest is a great friend who has created so many doggone boxes. It's crazy. So many boxes for herself and for others. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Well, thank you for having me, Lisa.
So, really quickly, y'all, Stephanie is the founder of the Rosie Network, and I'm going to let her tell y'all about that. But she's the founder of the Rosie Network and the co founder of the U.S. Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce and a founder of a new company and is just involved in so many things. I would never, ever be able to remember them. So, Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you to let you introduce yourself. Tell us how you got to where you are today, and then we'll talk about the things that you've done. So our topic tonight is measuring wealth by the impact you make on others. And I know you've had an impact on so many.
Well, I thank you. And it's funny. I truly believe that. And, our parents tell us things all the time when we're younger and we kind of blow it off, right? Like, yeah, whatever. And that was something that, my father said to me, who he was a Vietnam veteran. He served over 20 years, did 2 tours in Vietnam. And, I didn't know he was enlisted, and there were 5 of us at the time. And I 5 kids, right?
Oh, wow.
So my mother gave up her, bright nursing career to raise, a bunch of unruly, crazy kids.
5 billions.
Didn't kill any of us. So that's always good on mom. But, my dad was a musician. So he worked during the day and then he would play in the O Club at night, right? That's how we kind of made ends meet because we lived below the poverty level.
Yeah, we did
And
too.
I didn't really.
Yes. And I'll let the audience know when Stephanie and I first met, one of the things that we have in common, in addition to being Navy wives, whose both of our husbands are named Tom Brown, both of our dads own a small music store. And my father also played in bands, had his own band, played in bands all throughout the years, Stephanie, to make ends meet.
I know,
So sorry for interrupting.
That's kind of crazy, huh? That's a
Yeah.
little twilight there we got going on.
Yes, he is.
But anyway, he was a musician. So when he retired in California, he opened up a very small music store. And I remember working there after school and on the weekends. And I would, stock the shelves and try to do accounting. Of course, don't tell the IRS, but I did ordering and payables, all that kind of stuff. And, and he was very forward facing with the customers. So, at the end, I remember at the end of one day, and we're sitting there and counting what's in the cash register and what went out the door. And I turned to him and I was like, Dad, man, you sure give away a lot of stuff for free or at cost. I mean, what,
Yep.
And he said, Stephanie, can we pay the bills? And I said, well, yeah, but you're not going to make a lot of money. And he said, it's not about making money.
Aw.
For him, these veterans would come in, right? So other Vietnam veterans would come in. They would sometimes bring their kids or, say a son or daughter that wanted to learn how to play guitar or the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And, my dad had a little studio in the back of the store where he would give lessons. He could play piano, he could play trumpet, guitar. He had a voice. I mean, my gosh, he was just so incredibly talented. And he just said, for him, of course, I look back on it now and I realized that for him, music was healing.
Yes.
Because veterans coming back from Vietnam were not treated the same way our veterans are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of knew that, but, you didn't talk a lot about his service. But he used that music store for a form of therapy for himself, but so many other veterans, they would come in and, they would, get to chatting and laughing and telling stories and lots of hugs, some tears. And, when he said to me, if you're, we're running a business can't just be about making money, right? Mm-hmm. It has to be about the impact you make on others.
Yeah.
And if you can judge yourself at the end of your life, what kind of impact you've made on other people, well, then that is that is the wealth that you have built, the time you've spent on
Oh,
this.
it just brings tears to my eyes, Stephanie, because Tom, my husband is a Vietnam veteran, but he's a lot, I'm a lot younger. And I remember as a child, as I'm sure you do, seeing on the news the guys coming home and the way they were treated and spit on. And it's so wild that your dad, he started a business, but it was really an outreach
That was it.
program, was healing for himself and outreach for other veterans. And it's
Yeah.
like he was decades before his time, because people didn't do stuff like there is that, like all the programs that there are now for
Yeah.
veterans. People didn't do that back then. He was so far ahead of his time.
Yeah. And that just, again, at the time, I'm a smart aleck,
Yeah.
know-it-all, not that deep a thinker, but
You wanted those cute shorts, right?
yeah,
And
I
shoes,
wanted, like,
whatever.
God, how come we have to go camping all the time for a vacation?
Yeah.
It was really because we couldn't afford anything else, but
Mhm.
we had great, great camping trips, let me tell you. But you fast forward, and as you become an adult, and then I actually started several businesses before I became a military spouse in the Washington D.C. area, and it wasn't until I became a military spouse, got married, moved overseas. Tom took command. I sold my small business, and I walked into that role not knowing, being familiar with the military life, but not as a spouse.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I couldn't find a job. I couldn't, continue my career. I mean, I was the boss. And in my field, what I went to college for. So, really living the
What
dream
did you
life
go
in
to
a lot of
college
ways.
for? What did you go to school for?
My degree was in interior design.
Okay. I knew you had
So,
told me, I just couldn't remember. So yeah.
and not, that's different than like interior decorating
Yeah,
design
yeah.
require. Yeah. So it's different, but I, was very fortunate and lucky, and,
Mhm.
got to do model homes around the Washington D.C. area and pick a few clients, not a lot. But then I move overseas, and suddenly, my future looks very different. And I recognize that, I wasn't alone, that a lot of other spouses were, dealing with the same thing. And then a lot of us had, degrees. Not that that is required in any way, shape,
Mhm.
or form to become a great entrepreneur. It is not. But I saw this whole slew of spouses and families kind of, struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make ends meet. And, you're living overseas in a place where getting a job, first of all, English was not, the spoken language. So just getting a job was a challenge,
Mhm.
and it drove me nuts. And I
Which
can
country
remember,
were y'all in then?
well, we were in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Okay. So, and, a lot of folks speak English, but it is not the primary language there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was an adjustment. I mean, we had great times and wonderful people, and I made, friendships with folks that I'm still friends with today, as
Mhm.
we do in this crazy military life, right? But after that, I remember, coming back stateside, and still feeling like kind of frustrated, and starting to get, a little depressed,
Yeah.
and a little bit resentful, and a little bit, what, we're going where?
And I
Um,
gave up everything, and
what is
yeah.
it? What am I gonna? So I finally just decided, okay, Steph, you got to put your entrepreneur hat on, because it's sort of been part of who I am since
Mhm.
working in that music store, from my dad's music store, and the lessons that I learned, and wanting to give back. I think was, there is no greater feeling than at the end of the day, you've been busting your hump all day, and you're sitting there
Mhm.
and you're checking your emails before you turn the lights off and try to get some sleep. And you get an email from a young military spouse who, attended something that you were involved in, and just said, Stephanie, what you are doing, I mean, you made me rethink my outlook on everything. And you feel this thing go over, wash
Yeah.
over you, like, what? I
Yeah.
impacted somebody. Well, wow. And it's such an amazing feeling. You really get more out of it giving to others than you can, imagine. It is.
I agree 100%. And you are getting so much out of it, but I know firsthand how many thousands and thousands of lives you've transformed. And
They do the hard work.
I'm going to get emotional, but I know a lot of these people personally, so I know the impact that you've had and that you still have on people. Sorry.
Don't apologize. Just don't get me started, okay? Because yeah, it is. And I think that kind of carries you through the tough times too, because we all have tough times.
I just switched. Sorry, I just switched the view. I forgot. James Bloomfield said he can't see us. I don't know why, but that made me realize I forgot to switch the view. Sorry. We got to move farther back.
I think it carries you through the hard times. It carries you through those times when if it's a financial struggle, if it's, issues with your family, you're, having those connections with people makes it easier to go through those times. And, I always, of course, I'm all about entrepreneurship, right? And I've been, training and mentoring veterans, service members, military spouses for, over a decade. It actually, when I started the Rosie Network, it was 12 years ago. So it's been that long.
Golly.
I used to have different colored hair. Now it's gray. So that'll tell you something. But at the times when I would be kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, like I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. That's when I get an email, or that's when somebody sends a message, and, and I feel filled up again. And that, I tell all of our entrepreneurs, our business owners, define what success means to you, not what social media and all these influencers out there try to tell you it means. If you don't have a private jet, you're not successful. Heck with that. Yeah. Define what it means to you. It can mean, something as simple as taking a hobby and turning it into a little bit of a moneymaker so that you can take your family on a vacation.
Right.
Or, make a car payment. It's up to you. Only you have to satisfy and make yourself happy first before you can do that for anybody else.
And for me, one of the big things is not having to get up by an alarm clock.
Yeah.
It's the little things. It's the little things that matter.
It is. It's funny. I was talking to somebody today who was, we're getting ready to do kind of a commercial, and, they have a small 3-year-old child. And I said, starting a business is kind of like having kids. Yeah. For those of us who've done both, there are a lot of parallels. There are things that keep you up at night, you worry about making payroll, you worry, about 100 different things. Right. And you can get tons of advice. And like a parent, remember, when you are pregnant, you get people come up to you and give you tons of advice. Oh, this is going to happen and you need to do that. The same happens when you have kids. Mm-hmm. Everybody has advice. Well, when you start a business, you can be, inundated with people giving you advice. And my suggestion has always been, besides define what success means to you, is listen and be grateful. Yeah. Be gracious about it. Say thank you. And remember that only you know your baby best. Nobody else knows your business and what works for your business better than you do. So take advice that works for you and say thank you to the person offering it the advice that doesn't work for you, right? Mm-hmm. Just be gracious. And you draw people to you when you do that. If you walk into, people have asked me, well, how do you network? How did you build a network of tens of thousands of military-owned businesses? You walk into a room, right? And you walk up to somebody, introduce yourself, and ask them about them. Yes. Don't tell them about you. Mm-hmm. Ask about them. Have a conversation about them, their business. What are they struggling with? Or just start a conversation like that and you build trust. And it's the same with clients, your customers. Build trust. You get an order in, you send an email saying thank you and what it means to you. That little action alone sets you apart from everybody else. So if you project out there that you are, you're there to collaborate, you're there to help, you're there to support, then people end up coming to you. That's how you build a network. It's not how many likes you have or how crazy a video you post on TikTok of you, doing something silly. It's really it's building a connection.
Yeah, it's building those relationships, letting people know that you care. And oh, by the way, half the people out there that have tons of followers either bought the followers or they're people that have nothing to do with their business. It's not like they're making money and they're standing beside a rented car or something. I wanted to tell you that your buddy, Ryan Garrett, said when we were talking about giving, he said, that's why we feel that Stephanie's family, exactly where we see, how we see the world. And that the Garrett family, how much they love you and what they think of your projects.
And the feeling is mutual. That's how we met, right? We came together with I think it was you reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I reached out to you on LinkedIn.
Stephanie, what do you know about NASCAR? And I'm like, nothing. Cars go fast in a circle. And then I flew out and had, met Colin and met, Ryan and met the family and met you. And I was just blown away by
and not to brag, because when I brag about Colin, I feel like I'm bragging. What?
Bragging is good.
But when I brag about Colin, I feel kind of like I'm bragging about my own child because I've been working with him for 5 years, so I feel a little bit guilty. But I remember that day, Colin's big worry when he met with you, he and Sam Hunt's big worry was that they didn't want people to feel like they were trying to use the military for themselves. They didn't want to feel like grifters because they see so many people that, put a logo on a car or whatever just to make it look like they're doing something. And they were so worried about that. And I was just so proud as an adult. At the time he was 19, I think. Heck, when I was 19, I wouldn't have been like that. Probably.
Yeah. That's another conversation for another time with a glass of wine. We are not going to talk about Stephanie when she was 19 because it was a scary thing. And I'm just glad there wasn't social media and everybody in the world with a handheld phone that had a camera on it. That's how
Thank God there wasn't social media.
Yeah, that's how we made it through those years unscathed without
If we do an episode about that, and it's the truth, it'll probably go viral.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry for going off topic, but that's been, what was that, the beginning of 2019, I believe, that we met.
Yeah. God. And it's so much bigger than NASCAR. It's so much bigger, and I think that's one thing about our community by and large is we can smell intent from a mile away, right? We can just tell. You can just tell if you've been around this long enough. Those that say thank you for your service, or those that really mean it, and those that are in it to support it. So like Colin, both of his brothers served in the military. This is a military family and a military father. So
and still do, yeah.
For me, it was but that's I always say to the advice I give business owners is you can start a business with your best friend, and believe me, I've seen it happen. And if you have to be clear on certain things, like what are your expectations, and they have to be realistic and they have to be in writing. But I as far as, and that has nothing to do with Ryan, but Ryan and Colin and the whole project that you guys are working on and how we started, and just it was such an amazing thrill to go out there. And my first NASCAR race was the Daytona 500. Who can say that? Hello?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was so much fun. And, it's funny because we've still done some work with some of the people that were there, like Smurf was there.
Oh, yeah.
Doing photography. And so we've done some stuff. I had him on the show with his triple nickel business, he and his partners and things like that. And so it just the connections that we made through you all those years ago. But the vast majority of, I mean, I have a really big network of military people, and within that, military entrepreneurs, and the vast majority of the ones who are military entrepreneurs are a member of the Rosie Network.
Wow.
So, yeah,
I love
so
it.
I want you to tell the audience, though, what the Rosie Network is, because we were really, really drawn to it because you're helping the little people. And one of the people that I was, the military spouse who gave up her job, really good job, um, to move, and seeing you doing what you were doing. And that's what drew us to you. So tell the audience what the Rosie Network is and why you started it.
Well, first of all, I believe in the American dream of small business ownership, right? Not to me, that's the American dream. And who better to earn the right to that American dream than those who've served in
Hold
uniform?
on, my computer's dying. I'm sorry. Hold on.
No,
Keep talking.
that's okay. We'll continue on without her. But that's it. I believe in the American dream, and I think our service members and their spouses have sacrificed and served alongside each other, and that they've earned the right to the American dream. So I set out, gosh, like I said, over a decade ago, trying to develop programs and ways in which American consumers could actually locate and patronize veteran and military spouse-owned businesses around the country. That was Rosie's List. So think Craigslist, Angie's List, Amazon kind of brought in, under one umbrella after Rosie the Riveter. So Rosie's List was born, I think it was 2014. It was, so the technology was owed. And then we got featured on a national news station and the whole website broke.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. But we have since, in fact, it's going through a complete rebuild right now, and we hope, fingers crossed, you know how technology is. Hello, you just had to plug your laptop in. That the brand new improved Rosie's List will go live on September 1st. Got to give a shout out to National University for their, being our key sponsor for Rosie's List. But
oh, cool.
It's free. You can go on there and create a profile for your business.
Veteran and military spouse-owned business.
Veteran or military spouse and military kid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell that in a sec. But you can create a basic profile for free. You can go on there for free and find a veteran or military spouse business near you, a restaurant, and my auto mechanic. I mean, I'll never go to another one. It's a husband and wife team, and they both served in the Air Force. They're amazing. So all that kind of stuff, that they're all right in your neighborhood. So why aren't you patronizing them? You know what I mean?
And so Stephanie,
way to do it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about it is that there are so many people who want to support veteran-owned and military spouse-owned businesses, but there's so much stolen valor out there. So people don't know who to trust. And when they come to Rosie's List, they know, because everybody has been vetted. So they know if they do business with somebody on there, this person is bona fide. You don't have to worry that they're lying about what they've done.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I had this idea, came up with the name, and then I found a veteran, Navy veteran, who built websites for a living. And I managed to coerce him into buying into this idea. And he said, okay, what's the most important? And I said that everyone is verified, that they've served or are serving, or that their spouses, that they're military spouses. So that was like absolutely front and center, had to be the case because of that. Right. And I wanted people to go on there and be able to shop with that level of confidence. So that was kind of how it all started. But I remember the same Navy veteran, when I sat down with him, he looked at me and he goes, you may think what you want this to look like, but you really need to, hold some focus groups and do some interviews. And I a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm like, what? No, that's going to take too long. Are you crazy? I know. Come on, we got to go. Some entrepreneurs have a sense of urgency. There's a sense of urgency. Got to get it done. Yeah. But he was right. And that is also part of the program. We build that in. You got to know who your customer is. If you're building something to serve someone and you don't talk to that someone to figure out if what you're building is going to work, then you're kind of, you know what they say about assuming, right?
Yeah.
So I did. I grudgingly set out and held some focus groups and set some calls, and I'm glad I did, because there were things that they wanted to see that I hadn't thought of.
Well, and the thing is, and I've been a developer since '96, so I know where he's coming from. And the thing that everybody tends to forget is we know what we mean, and we know what we expect people to do. So it's really hard for us to take that step back and look at it objectively and realize that people might not even know where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to click, or they may want something different that you haven't even thought about.
Exactly. No, exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
And then your whole business relies on your website. It's not just put out there for PR. It's the core of your business, which makes that way more important.
Yeah. And that was, I wasn't going to make any money off of it. I just said, look, I could have used this, right? I could have used this when I was looking for a plumber. And I know there are Americans out there who are like me. If I'm going to spend money on, a dentist, and take my kids there, I would prefer to patronize, someone who served, like us. So anyway, that's kind of how it started. But what I walked away from after, having all those interviews and talking to entrepreneurs was that there was kind of a gap. They were, of course, masters of their own product or service. Their widget, nobody knew it better than them, but there were things that they didn't necessarily know. And then when, especially in military spouses, they'd have a skill. So they went to college for accounting. So they have a degree in accounting, but they can't get a job in an accounting company because they're sitting in an interview and the person is looking at their resume going, oh, I see you've moved 3 times in the last 6 years. Oh, near Fort Bragg. Oh, near Fort Benning. Oh, near Fort Belvoir. Are you a military spouse? Yeah. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We'll call you. So how can you take that skill and turn that into something, that brings revenue into your family, right? That whether it's an independent contractor and you have multiple clients, or you become, a C Corp or an LLC or whatever the case may be. So that sort of sparked this, wow, what if I could help build a program and bring all these amazing people together, and we can learn from each other and support each other. And that was really the beginning, the birth of what would become Service to CEO, which graduates now thousands of veterans and military spouses every year in over 40 states and 6 countries. It's national award winning. We built it with a university here in California. And, everybody that goes through it who graduates gets to get up and present their pitch deck. We help you build a pitch deck. You know what that is, Lisa.
Yeah.
And they present their pitch deck, but we cover all of it. And here's what I've come to learn. And this goes back to that measuring wealth by the impact you have on others. I thought for sure that the impact that we made on these small business owners, these are people, would be how many people they hired, how much revenue they brought in, was their revenue growing, et cetera, et cetera. So if they weren't doing that, then we weren't succeeding.
Yeah.
Okay? That was how I was measuring it then. Here's what I've come to realize. And this came from this message came directly from the people who go through our program. For them, the network, the mentorship, the collaborating within their cohort, meeting other entrepreneurs who were dealing with the same struggles, who've experienced the same lifestyle, meeting those people, feeling like I'm not alone. Wow. there are other people out there, who are in the same boat, doing the same thing, the same struggles and opportunities. So that I had to shift my mindset and our team that when they said for us as the graduates, it's not about the impact. The greatest impact on us is what we got out of the program. It's not for us about money.
Yeah.
The fact that our business grows and makes more money, that's icing on the cake. What you've given us, this family, this skill set, this knowledge, this army of mentors and other people that want to help me and see me succeed, and that I'm not doing it alone, that now I'm braver than I was when I was by myself. That is what is the most important impact that we're making.
That's priceless. Priceless. Because they could never do that on their own. No one person could ever build such a wide, very deep network. And I just love it. Like I said earlier, I know so many people who are members of it. And because I've known you since 2019, and I've known a lot of these people for about the same period of time, I've gotten to watch their businesses evolve. So I see it without them even saying it. So it just makes me so proud to even know you, because what you do is so amazing.
Well, and of course, that's not enough. So, we also publish a magazine called Military Entrepreneur Magazine. It's free. And we tell the story.
Where can people get that?
They can go right to our website, therosienetwork.org. There's you'll see ME Mag, we call it for short. You can go right on there, click on it, read it for free. We love telling the stories. We love telling stories of these entrepreneurs, not just the ones who go through our program, but from all over the country and the world. They don't have to pay to be featured. I mean, we're, thanks to the generous donations of our corporate partners and individuals, we try to keep as much as we can at no cost to those we serve as humanly possible. Kind of taking that, guideline from my dad, right? It's not about making money. Yeah. Nonprofits have to make money. Don't get me wrong. Believe me. But so we started, a year and a half ago, we launched the first military kidpreneur summer camp. So we took the program and we said, because people were asking, hey, my kid, he would sit in with me when I do the class. And he's got this idea. He's a little mini entrepreneur. And I tell you, Lisa, you think it's great meeting vets and spouses, who are entrepreneurs. Try hanging out with, a 13-year-old who's grown up in the military, and they are way more savvy entrepreneurs than, I think of myself at 13 and my idea of being an entrepreneur.
You're so much more worldly than us. I need to have some of them on the show. You need to recommend some. That would be so much fun.
They would love it.
They'll have fresh ideas and perspectives that all us old people won't.
I'm telling you, they're so excited. They're so savvy. They know technology. And I love it. I mean, and again, we're connecting these military kids from all across the globe. And how cool is that?
Right. They're already building a professional network when they're kids, and these are friendships that can last a lifetime, where most people who are middle-aged don't even really know how to build a great network like that.
Yeah, exactly. But that is a lot of fun. And we got a grant from Fisher House Foundation and Military Times Foundation, and now we're able to offer it year round. So again, go to rosienetwork.org, therosienetwork.org, and sign your kid up. I think the age is 12 to 17. Sign your kid up for the program. It's so much fun. I get like goosebumps and can't. They had to kick me out because I couldn't stop giggling. I was like, I was annoying. But then 2.5 years ago, I was on a task force, a military spouse entrepreneur task force. And I met these two I met multiple amazing military spouses and leaders. And I managed to, coerce or wrangle two of them to join me in another crazy venture. So we launched the first ever Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce, and we put together the first industry standard certification for military spouse-owned enterprise. Again, it's free because, I'm like my dad, big pushover. But you can get your military spouse-owned business. And even if you own it with two spouses, even if they're 50-50 ownership, as long as they're military spouses or a spouse and a veteran, we'll certify you. And, we now have Fortune 100 and 500 companies that accept the certification.
Wow.
So if you want to do business with the DoD, like you mentioned my little for-profit, I'm selling to the Army. Other military spouses can do the same. The Army's actually tracking how much money they spend with military spouses.
Awesome.
5 years ago, Lisa, would that ever have happened?
Heck no. And it blows my mind that somebody hadn't even thought of that. The things that you think of, you're like, damn, this is needed. And you go do it, and that is something that's so needed. But it's so great because now with that certification, not only do people know that they are military, but the businesses who contract with them, it goes along with their diversity stuff, right?
That's right. I had an opportunity. I don't know what
you call it because I don't deal with contracts like that.
Yeah,
so use the right words.
Supplier diversity.
Yeah.
So the big companies spend a significant percentage of every dollar they make on what we call procurement. So they have to buy paper, they have to buy furniture, they have to hire electricians, they have to, everything and anything a company needs from start to finish. They commit to, a lot of them commit to hitting certain numbers when it comes to spending that procurement money on supplier diversity. So women owned, minority owned, veteran owned, service disabled. Military spouses never had a seat at that table until now. And that's been the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce has made that happen.
And that's so cool. Sorry, go ahead.
So we have companies like Johnson & Johnson.
Wow.
CVS Health. USAA, if you're military, you know who USAA is. We have AT&T. We have Disney. We have, and we're onboarding others as we grow. So, and that is now not everybody is going to be interested in doing business, selling something, a product or service to, AT&T. But still getting certified, you can put that sticker on your website. And so someone's going through it and they're looking for 15 different web developers. And one of them is a certified military spouse owned. I guarantee you that's going to make a difference. They're going to see that and go, wow, I have an opportunity to support a military family. Oh, okay.
And that's something that most people, it would never even be on their radar because the military spouses are the forgotten people who serve. And so now you've got it on the radar of all these big companies, but small companies as well, which that reminds me, I have a friend who's a procurement expert who works with the biggest companies in the world on down to small companies to help them get the discounts that the big companies do. I need to tell him about the Milspouse Chamber of Commerce because I'm sure that a number of his clients would love to work with Milspouse-owned companies for their own supplier diversity. So
see what we just did? See what we just did? We just made a connection.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's, we all know so many people. We know things that we don't even know that we know, whatever. I just said, I don't even know how many times I said that word.
That's a t-shirt. That's your bumper sticker. Yeah.
It's just the number of things that you have started and are running, but most importantly, the number of people that you're impacting and the number of lives that have changed. And it's not just changing them for right now, Stephanie. You're changing generations.
Look, Lisa, bless your heart. It's not Stephanie. I'm going to tell you something.
No, I know.
You know
you
this.
And your team. Yeah.
You know this. And there are some lessons. I keep having people tell me, Stephanie, write a book. And I think, when there aren't enough hours in the day. I have 2 kids. I've got one getting ready to go sophomore year in the university, and I'm running 3 businesses, and I'm 60 years old, getting ready. I'm thinking, when do I have time? I have horses and alpacas and yada yada. It would make a funny book though.
Well,
but I'll
you need
tell
a ghostwriter.
There are some things. Yeah, I need a ghostwriter. There are some things that I have learned, over the years, and one of them is build a team. And people say, well, I don't make enough money to hire anybody. A team doesn't have to be an employee. Build a team.
Right.
You're part of my team, Lisa, and vice versa, right? You can reach out to me and go, hey, I've got this challenge, this opportunity, or I see you're connected to somebody on LinkedIn. Can you make an introduction? Yeah. Build a team. It can be mentors. It can be a cheerleading squad. It can be, it can be a cohort, at Rosie. It can be being part of a chapter, the Military Spouse Chamber. We just launched 10 chapters across the country. 10 chapters across the country. So join a chapter, right? It's free. You get to meet other spouses. Build a team, because your team is your greatest asset or your greatest liability. So when you build that team, make sure you're bringing people in that have integrity. This, right? Don't always go for the flashiest, most well-spoken. Like, I would rather hire and have hired somebody that didn't have the experience, right? But I could tell they had the drive and they cared about what we were doing, and they, were willing to learn, and we're going to show up and with initiative and integrity. Yeah. I'll take that person 10 times over. I'll take somebody that, well, I've got the greatest resume in the world, and, you can't teach me anything, and I know all the answers, and so on and so forth,
Amen.
Don't you think?
And I preach to my clients and friends strategic collaboration, because critical. Like you said, you may be able to build a huge business and never even need any employees. But even if you have employees, you don't want to offer every service. You don't want to do everything that's out there. So instead of trying to do it all yourself, find other people who are good at that and partner up with them. And that way you're all working together, helping each other. To me, there's nothing stronger than strategic collaboration.
Oh, it's huge.
Strategic partnerships.
And as far as like reach and social media, I call it the 3 M's. So having talked to, mentored, trained, literally like tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, building that network and working, collaborating, you've automatically expanded your reach.
Yes.
Right? Because if you have something, right, and we've known each other, I follow you, you follow me, right? You post something, I like it, I share it. Yeah. So when you talk about exposure, I hear it all the time. What are the 3, when they do their pitch decks and they put on their big ask, slide, what are you asking for? It almost always comes down to 3 things: money, marketing. So we just talked about how to do that networking, right? Getting people that know you, follow them, like them, share theirs. They'll turn around and do the same for you. Boom. What happens? It's, you don't even have to spend money, marketing, and mentorship. Yeah. There's a staggering percentage of entrepreneurs in their first, I think it's the first year, it's like 90% fail that don't have a mentor. So if you don't have a mentor, you're going 9 to 1 odds. If
that is so true, because you always need that outside look. And whether it's somebody at your level or somebody a lot higher. And as a matter of fact, personally, I say get several mentors, and because everybody has a different opinion. And that way, like you spoke of at the very beginning, take everybody's advice and then sort through it and figure out what works for you, because it's your business and you can make it anything you want. You don't need to make it what everybody else does. But
Yeah.
before we go on, I'm going to tell you, Cheryl Mason says, you definitely need a team to write a book. And she knows, because if I'm not mistaken, she's writing one now.
I know it's getting ready to come out. I'm definitely on board to read that. And,
Yeah, I can't wait to
pass
read it.
out. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
She's, there are some, I meet extraordinary military spouses all the time. It blows my mind. We are so capable. We are so supportive. And I mean, there's no reason really this community can't, do anything it wants.
That's right.
And there are people out there that are ready, willing, and able to help you. Don't have to do it alone.
Yes.
And make an impact. If you reach a level of success and you're not reaching back to help others, you're building a poor business. So do like my dad, said, right? Measure your success by the impact you make on other people.
Because nobody, the old saying, nobody's on their deathbed saying, I wish I made more money or whatever.
No,
it's
that's
the
a fact.
other stuff that's more important. Not that money isn't important. Money's wonderful, but there's never enough money. You can always make more. And there's always somebody with more. And if that's how you judge yourself, by how much you have and the toys that you have and this, that, and the other, you're going to end up with an empty life when you are at the end of your life. So stop and think hard about that. Oh, Cheryl, you're so sweet. She said you're both rock stars in my world. Well, Cheryl, when you get closer to, when you get closer to launching your book, I need to get you on here to talk about it. And then Stephanie's got to come back to talk about hers. But
one day.
You need a book, and then somebody needs to get the movie option and make a movie.
Now that is a good one. That's a good one, Lisa.
Nah, it would be good.
I will tell you, and then I'll wrap it up. But it's 2 years ago when I had probably the most. I had lost my father a long time, quite a while ago, but 2 years ago, and I went through a very difficult time. Tom, the guy, tall, good-looking, handsome, when he passed away, when we lost him, if it hadn't been for this community reaching out, the way I came through, it would have looked very different than it does today. So I really owe this community everything. And so I'm so grateful every day to wake up and be able to go, how can I serve? How can I serve?
Well, and you've been serving for decades now. And we're all so thankful for you, Stephanie. So thankful for your friendship and for everything you do for your community.
Well, it was a pleasure to spend this time with you.
I know. I can't believe I'm crying.
I'm going to pick a funny subject.
I know, really. Well, I always have to cry. Ryan knows that. I always have to cry. I'm a big old cry baby. But okay, so before we go, do you have anything else that you want to say, like any biggest piece of advice? You've given a lot of big pieces of advice. Is there anything else that you want to say, or any tough lesson you learned, or anything?
I would say, don't wait. Stop waiting.
Yes.
Don't wait for the kids to go to school. Don't wait for them to graduate. Don't wait for your spouse to get out of the military. Don't wait, stop waiting. There is never a perfect time. Jump in. You do one step at a time. If you can accomplish, if you know what your big, hairy, audacious goal is, and you've mapped that out, and I had a very good friend teach me this lesson, and you're making one step toward that every day, or, obviously not if you're on vacation or whatever, you can cut yourself some slack, but make that roadmap. Take a step toward that every day. You'll feel like you're accomplishing something, right? But don't wait. We put it off. We procrastinate. Take that first step now, and don't do it alone. Join a group. Do it together. But stop putting it off.
Take the first step now and stop putting it off. It's exactly why I wrote my book, my last book, Disrupt Your Now, and this show, because I meet so many people all the time who are, someday I'm going to do this and one day I'm going to do that, and someday and one day never come.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It's like you have to make it today. Ron says Rosie's riding with Colin for the national championship in TC America. You know, he's in the lead. Indy's coming up, and
I know I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go. It's, I got to be there with my people.
yeah, okay. I have to tell you one last thing that Cheryl says, because you said don't wait. She says don't wait to write a book, Stephanie. Journal every day. And that's great advice.
That is fantastic advice. Yeah. And somebody just, Lisa, if you're listening, another Lisa, she dragged me into a meeting and said, I'm teaching you how to use AI. And, so.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you.
And don't be afraid to explore
the
AI.
advice. Sorry, I was talking over you. Sorry, say what you were saying, and then I'll say what I was.
No, I had no idea that, even just creating like a format for, So I'll definitely be taking advantage of that.
Well, I was jumping on top of what Cheryl said. I advise my clients, if you're not the type of person who likes to actually journal, like write journal, or like I do it in my phone, I type it in my phone, but a lot of people are more on the go. Use a voice recorder on your phone. And because all the good things that we all think of, we don't think when we have time. We think of it when we're in the middle of something like driving or whatever. So if you take, a few seconds and pick your phone up and do a voice memo, if you can't journal or whatever, then you've got it written down, and then later you can revisit it and be like, oh yeah, there's that idea for the book, And
I do that all the time. I use my recorder on my phone all the time.
Yeah, so you're already doing it.
Yep. So that's a great piece of advice. But get it started. Do something. Make that choice. Find others to go along the journey with you. Reach out to resources that are available, right? The SBA, Veteran Business Outreach Center, the Milspouse Chamber, Rosie. There's so many resources out there. You don't have to do it alone. And it's pretty amazing when you do it.
One last thing before we go. For anybody out there who owns a business who would like to in some way sponsor or support Rosie Network or purchase from I've forgotten your new company, the supply company. Tell me the name again.
Rosie Supply Corps. Yeah, we are. Yep. So we're right now selling to the United States Army. Mm-hmm. So big shout out to the Army.
So any business out there who may want to support the nonprofit in some way or purchase from the for-profit, whether you're a small business or a large corporation, we love you large corporations because y'all have lots of money. Yes, reach out to Stephanie. Tell them how they can connect with you and how they can find out more about all of your business.
Well, I love it. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think my LinkedIn handle is the Stephanie Brown because there was apparently other Stephanie Browns in the world out there. So mine is the Stephanie, spelled the old fashioned way, PH, Stephanie Brown, or you can go to the Rosie Network. You can go to millspousechamber.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me at hello@millspousechamber. Just connect with me or connect with Lisa and she'll put us together. Anyway,
and if you connect with, sorry.
We're always looking for time, treasure, and talent is really what it boils down to. We can't do it alone. We have to, you want to help a family, then, reach out and connect with us. Because
love it.
We'll take your time, we'll take your treasure, and we'll take your talent.
Yeah, definitely. And look, y'all, if you reach out to Stephanie on LinkedIn and connect with her there, then obviously you can see all of her companies really quickly. You can jump over to them there too. So if you can't remember all that, just look her up on LingkedIn.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining me.
It was great to catch up. Thank you. What a pleasure. Love you too.
Talk to you later. Bye. Thanks, everybody, and see you next week.